The bank will play a very important role in this conference. COP20 is going to prepare a very important conference next year, which is COP21, and it will result in a legally binding agreement on climate change. And at this meeting in Lima, Peru, the African Development Bank is going to support African negotiators in arriving at a common position on what a future agreement will be. And also, the bank will be advocating very strongly for an increased amount of climate finance to be availed to African countries, which, after all, have suffered the most from the effects of climate change, and yet have contributed the least to climate change effects. It will be essentially through increasing, as I said, the climate finance. It should be noted that over the recent years, we have steadily increased the amount of finance available for projects, and we're putting a lot of emphasis on renewable energy, for example. In 2013 alone, the bank managed to mobilize $1.2 billion of climate finance, and we expect this trend, obviously, to continue. So we shall have a very important role in catalyzing the amount of finance going into climate change. It will be a question of partnerships. We will have to work with the other financing institutions. We also would need to encourage private sector to also invest in infrastructure, for example, because there's room for a lot of different players to come in here. Well, resources are never adequate. I think the challenges are very big. The needs far exceed the available resources. But I think the real issue is using the resources efficiently and tapping into new sources of finance. This is what our strategy will be. Actually, the total needs for the continent are estimated at around $90 billion per year, of which only half of this amount is mobilized, which is about 40, meaning that we have a gap of about 50 billion. Now, to close this gap, a lot of this money will need to come from new sources, and of course, climate finance will be very important. You must understand that our portfolio includes infrastructure such as the hydro. We have very important hydro projects, which is clean energy. In the transport sector, we are seeking to also establish climate-friendly and climate-resilient road infrastructure. We are also working towards reducing emissions of cars which are using our roads. So all in all, we believe that the move towards having clean and climate-resilient infrastructure will be part of the solution to closing this gap.